In this lecture, I am going to talk about culture and imperialism with reference to Edward Said. And in this book, he talks about culture and imperialism. And in order to understand this culture and imperialism, we will have to move back towards the time when Europe moved from agricultural phase to industrial phase. So there was a time when their source of economy was agriculture. Then they moved from the agricultural phase to industrial phase. Now, when they moved from one phase to the other, now in order to run their industries, the very first thing they were in need of, that was raw material. Raw material like sugar, wheat, rice, spices, rubber, tobacco, coffee, and all these type of things which are available in raw material. They were in need of these things. Because they were in need of these things, so the second thing they were searching was that they were of the view that they must look toward the whole world and the places from where they can have fertile land to get these resources. Then the third thing they needed was that there must be cheap labor must be available to work for them. And the fourth thing, that there must be overseas markets where they can sell their products. So these were the four things which they were searching. The very first, fertile land. Number two, there was the obtaining of the raw material. Number three, cheap labor, and then overseas markets. Then in order to fulfill these demands of raw material, they started making colonies in different parts of the world. And its best example is their making of colonies in India. And when they started making colonies in the different parts of the world, and this process of, it means that they moved from their own houses, from their native areas, and then they first of all they searched different areas. Then they came to know that the concerned areas from which these resources are available, they started moving to those areas, and then they started making colonies over there. So this making of colonies in any area is actually called the process of colonization. Now, this colonization can be a direct colonization. At the same time, sometimes it can also be indirect colonization. Direct colonization means that when people who are white people, when they themselves are controlling, or their own officers, the officials of the white people are controlling the people of the colonized area, this is called direct colonization. And if white people appoint the people from the colonized area to control the colonized people, this is called indirect colonization. And when they are present in any area physically to control the people of the colonized area, this is called physical colonization. It is also called militaristic colonization because they are physically present in that area. When they make colonies, so then what happens? Two cultures start existing simultaneously, the culture of the colonizer and the culture of the colonized. But the problem is that both the cultures can never merge into each other. So if both cultures, the colonizer wants their culture to be dominated one, and the colonized, they think that their culture must be given preference, and sometimes the result is violence. And when they move from any area and make colonies, so this is colonialism. But after making colonies, they start implementing their own social systems, their own political system, their own religious system, their own economical systems, and their other norms and values in order to control the people of those areas. So application of their own rules over the colonized area is called imperialism. And actually this imperialism is making an empire or breaking an empire, or it is a relationship between the colonizer and the colonized, in which the all those who are in control, they are higher because it is a relationship. Empire is a relationship in which one state controls the effective political sovereignty of another political society. Mean one society is going to control the other society. The dominating one is going to control the dominated one. Mean the exploiters are going to control the exploited one. So they are superior and the colonized, they are inferior. So this is called imperialism. And whereas when they are asked that why they have made colonies in different parts of the world, so the answer is, they tell us that because they say that according to them, these people who are living in Asia, who are called brown people, then those people who are living in Africa, who are black people, and those people who are living in colonized white people, who are perhaps they are white people, and these brown and black people, they say that they people are not in the position to know how to run a government. So then they say that these people are inferior, we are superior. The white people think themselves to be superior, and according to them, these black people are inferior. White people are born to rule, the others are born to be ruled. They are active, these people are lazy. Then white people are confident, these people are without confidence. White people are civilized people, these people are not civilized people. White people are reformed people, and these colonized people are not reformed people. White people are educated people, and these people are not educated. It means that each and everything that is negative, that is related to these colonized, and each and everything that is good, that's related to the colonizers. And then they say that after this binary position, constructing this binary position, they say that they are in these areas in order to educate these people, in order to civilize these people, in order to reform these people, in order to tell these people how to rule, in order to tell these people how to live life. Mean that, but actually they were not reformers, they were looters under the guise of reformation. Their actual purpose was to get the resources, to reach the resources of the raw material and then transfer it to their own areas. And they also acted upon the law of inertia. Law of inertia means that when white people came here, their men and women, they thought that they must stay in that area in order to get profit, because until they are not in any area, they are not staying in that area, till that time they cannot fulfill their demand. So they acted upon the law of inertia. The law of inertia means they are staying in this area. And its best example is that of their arrival of the white people in India, and they ruled over these people. And there are certain writers who say that the people who are in colonized areas, or especially who are in Indian peoples, they were lucky enough to be ruled by the colonizers. For example, Kim, he is of the view, and then E.M. Foster, he also says this, and there are certain characters which are involved in their literature, their pieces of literature, which tell us that, which represent something that perhaps they are the lucky enough that they were colonized. If there shouldn't have been anything like colonizers, these people should have been perished. And these are they tell us. Then in order to enter and in order to control the minds of the people, the best tool for them is education. And the educational system of Lord Macaulay, that's also criticized in this book, that he was of the view that from the system I am going to introduce, only low level mentalities will be produced, no great brains will be produced out of it. Then after they live in those areas, and when after fulfilling their demands of those areas, when they leave that area, this era is called neo-colonialism, and it's also called post-colonialism. If it is still in practice, for example, if it is ended, then we can say that this is a post-colonialism, and post-colonialism is that's called with the hyphenated post-colonialism. It means that now colonialism has ended. But if it is still in practice, and this in one form or the other, this is called neo-colonialism. And it is also, if the literature, and post-colonialism without hyphen, it means that the literature which is written in order to, which is called Empire Writes Back, means that literature which is written by the people who are colonized, even by the people who are colonizer, that is called post-colonial literature, whether it is favoring the colonized or the colonizer, or it is against them. Whatever is the condition, that's called post-colonial literature. Now, when they were in any area, that's called physical colonization. But when they leave that area, but still in our society we can see that we are mentally colonized. So this is called mental colonization, and this is also called neo-colonialism. And best examples of neo-colonialism which are expressed in this book are, the number one there is of American Dream. American Dream, this is a new form of colonialism, mean that there must be happiness for large number of Americans at large scale. And the second thing, Americans are born to rule. They are the crown of creation. Then concept of universalism. Universalism means that only those things are valid which are according to the standards of the Europeans. Then Eurocentrism means that Europe is the center of all social political activities. So this Europe is a center and everything at the margin. Then American Dream, and then International Monetary Fund, then World Bank and World Trade Organization. These are all new forms of colonialism. And there was a time when there were two world powers. There were two powers in this world. The very one was of America, and then there was USSR. Then after a collapse or after a war between them, USSR collapsed, and then there was only one power, that's called America, and America became, the world was called unipolar, and before it was called multipolar, because there were two superpowers, America and USSR. And then a time came when America only was the superpower, so America was superpower, and the world was called unipolar. So this all resulted in a new type of colonization, and now America is at top of this system. Then in order to enhance the worth of this concept of culture and imperialism, Edward Said also talks about certain writers. For example, he talks about Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, in which a character Kurz is sent to the Congo. In order to give the strength to the concepts of culture and imperialism, he also gives references of different novelists. For example, he talks about Heart of Darkness by Conrad. In this novel, there is a character Kurz who is there in Congo, in Africa, in order to prepare a report about the conditions of those people, because they think that after preparing this report we will change them, we will reform them, but actually nothing like that happens. They are looters. Then there is Mansfield Park and Great Expectation. In both these novels, according to Edward Said, apparently they seem to be in, perhaps it seems that they are against this colonialism, but in the strict sense of the term, they seem to be favoring this colonialism. Then he also gave the example of Franz Fanon. Franz Fanon says that the people who are living in any area, who are colonizers, when they leave that area, they go without any justice. When they come in that area, they come with slogans of different type of educating the people, of reforming the people, of civilizing the people, but they leave that area without fulfilling this. Then he also gives the example of Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky says that they are not the reformers, they are actually the looters of this. So this is all about culture and imperialism. And now imperialism means when they are going to make an empire, or they are going to break an empire, or application of their own rules and regulations over the other areas. This is called imperialism. And culture means the way of living of people and the way of thinking of the people, that's called culture. So Edward Said was of the view that in order to understand the culture of a nation, we must concentrate upon its cultures. And culture and imperialism mean that when imperialism is in practice, culture is always disturbed. So in order to understand anything which is with reference to colonialism, post-colonialism and colonialism, this culture must be given precedence. And this all study is also called contrapuntal, mean that when Edward Said discusses colonialism, post-colonialism and imperialism, he keeps in mind not only one perspective, he keeps in mind perspective of both colonizer and the colonized, and he fully, because he was himself a teacher, and he has also he knew this thing in spirit, in full form, that what is imperialism. So he has given an authentic explanation of culture and imperialism in this book.